One quick thing, Ben. Let me say this. Since I didn't get in on the Overreactions podcast, Joe Burrow, top 15 fantasy quarterback, because they're going to be playing from behind the whole season.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sports Den, the podcast for the weekend thing. It's going to be another one of our This Week in Sports podcast, and this partially this upcoming week in sports. Welcome, everyone here. We've actually got another full four group here, so everyone say hi.
Hi.
We have Sean.
Hey.
We haven't had Sean forever.
It feels like that too. It's good to be back. It is good to be back.
I don't think we've had you since the worst pick in fantasy or draft history was made.
Yes,
not by you.
Since Six Felix,
who might be here.
That is still probably one of my top podcast moments. I'm not sure any moment can touch that. That was a good one.
All I'm saying is this year for fantasy, I took Josh Jacobs in the first round, and not regretting that. So let's so maybe Fix-It Felix wasn't that bad of a pick.
You just used all of your bad picks once. But anyway, so speaking of that, you bring up Josh Jacobs. So, but we're gonna start with the NFL. We won't get to that, but first thing, we had a Thursday night game. Now, I think I discovered something about Thursday night games. Is Thursday night games are always going to be awful. But because Thursday night games are always awful, it doesn't matter who you put in that game because it can't be worse. Like at the end of the day, no, it's always a Thursday night game. So that is how, like, the Browns and Bengals, everyone's like, well, it's not that. No, it's Thursday. It's supposed to be bad. So it was nice. You got to enjoy it because it was supposed to be bad.
See, the matchup was bad. The advertising was bad, but the game was actually pretty good. Like, I did not expect to be entertained by Bengals Browns. And my man Joe Burrow, of course, I'm all on the Joe Burrow train. I think he's going to be a stud quarterback in a couple of years once the Bengals figure out how to protect him. But also, I mean, I remember last week a lot of people saying, and it was on the podcast too, the Browns don't know how to run the ball. Well, Kevin Stefanski, give him credit, decided to run the ball and keep.
I also started Alvin Kamara. Got not Kamara. Sorry, Kareem Hunt. Sorry, my bad. Also started Kareem Hunt and got a whole bunch of points out of that. Got a whole bunch of points out of that. Two totally different players too. And sorry, I got a buzz about Alvin Kamara got traded in my league, so my Freudian slip there. But
yeah, no, I started him in another league as well. One of the guy I watched the game with, he had Hunt, and the other guy had Chubb.
Oof,
and so
that's a lot of points all around.
Watching that, so and they were both lined up as the number one running back that game for both their teams. And so it was just really funny watching this because it was like they literally saw the comparison. I think Chubb won the matchup, but barely. But yeah, that was fantastic.
And to his credit, I think Baker might have heard us all saying that there's no way he's in the league next year because was that his best game of his career?
No,
I don't think yard-wise, but efficiency-wise, it might have been.
It really
he had a high rating.
It just really felt like that was the first time I've watched Baker where I've been like, okay, maybe.
No, he has talent.
Since he just, I think.
Yeah, definitely in the last couple of years.
Go ahead, Amber.
I said he has talent, but I think he just tends to blow it a lot. Like, I think he lets his nerves or something get the best of him. Because I've seen him play really well, and then I've seen him play where it's like, I'm not sure who you were throwing to or what you were trying to do. Oh, but last night, yeah, that was Thursday. I think he did a pretty good job. I mean, I thought it was enjoyable. He didn't do anything too stupid. So
I feel like we have to temper our expectations because it is the Bengals and they don't have a defense and they don't have a defensive line. They don't have an offensive line.
Well, the Browns don't have a defense either. Neither team really had a defense.
Oh, they have Myles Garrett though. So here's my other thing. Credit Joe Burrow for going against. They play the Chargers week 1, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. And then the Browns. So, I mean, you got 2 bull rushers and only getting sacked 3 times per game as a rookie against 2 of the best defensive players in the league. I mean, the kid has got wheels, man. The kid has got pocket presence. If you watch, he is way more patient than a lot of rookie quarterbacks that get thrown in the fire. He's way more patient than people like Sam Darnold, who we've expected to at least have something by now and doesn't. I know we've had that conversation before, but you know, I'm all in, man. I think Burrow will be an elite quarterback in a couple years.
Oh,
I agree with that.
I wish I remembered. So I was on my way home last night. I was listening to radio, and I can't remember if it was a local guy, but they were talking about that. And he kind of presented it as whether it works out or not, because they are the Browns and the Bengals, 2 franchises with a history of ineptitude. You can see that they have a plan. And that kind of goes to and he really used the Baker model of it, for the first bit, the plan, it seemed like what the Browns were doing with Baker was, hey, we want you to be the guy. You're going to be the face of the franchise. You're going to be the big thing. We want you to be our Peyton Manning. He will never be your Peyton Manning. But he can be the guy that gets you get you there and wins you game, takes you there. You don't need the Peyton Manning to win. No, you need other things. And that's kind of the whole thing. But that being said, he can still go off for 300 yards. If he needs to, hey, the game is stepping up. We're going to need you to step up. Cool, got it. But that's not that expectation. They built something around the Browns have built stuff around him. It feels like that's the plan. And you kind of talked about the Jets. The Jets got their guy, and then nope, he's the guy. We don't need to do anything with it. We don't need to help him in any way. No, he's the guy. Wait, what do you mean? Why is he playing like absolute garbage? Because you never gave him anything. You've had him for 3 years, and what wide receiver have the Jets signed or drafted?
Exactly.
And what offensive linemen have they brought in? What
to their credit, the Jets did draft 4 or 5 this year, I think.
Yeah, but this year. This year. But as we saw with, salty Texans fan here, David Carr.
You're gonna have to get over it, Jonathan.
No, I'm not. I'm not gonna get over David Carr. All the talent in the world, but then when you break in 3 consecutive years the time sacked record.
What university did David Carr go to?
It doesn't matter.
What university did David Carr go to?
Right? No, Fresno State.
Fresno State, right?
No, not that Carr. The other Carr went to Fresno.
I thought they both went to Fresno.
David, I believe, correct me, David was the first at USC. The first of those USC ones that came through?
No, Carr did not graduate from.
No, I don't think so. I think they both went to Fresno State.
I'm pretty sure he went to Fresno.
I know little brother went to Fresno. David went to
Fresno State.
Oh, he did go to Fresno.
Yeah. Okay.
Did, yeah. So, while we're talking about that,
he played all 4 years at Fresno.
We're talking about the Browns at least having other pieces and then being like, hey, okay, now Baker is our guy going forward with these pieces. I almost like that a little bit better. It won't work because it's the Browns and nothing ever works for the Browns. But I almost like that.
Though, too, they did hire a coach that is and
not
you guys
Freddie
talked
Kitchens.
about this a little bit. Yeah, is a run first coach, and they have 2 good running backs. And that is the plan. Now the question is, what are they going to do with this ultra talented wide receiver core that they supposedly have? And they brought in a couple pieces. I know Njoku's out, but Austin Hooper was a big tight end that they brought in.
Yeah.
So we'll see how the passing game develops. But I believe in my theoretical the lens of coaching, the pressure is taken off of Baker a little bit by hiring a guy who's from a run-first background.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that. But to flip it to Burrow, man, Burrow is – I have been so impressed these last 2 games. I know they didn't win either one of the games, but Burrow is a winner. Like, he's going to win games, you can tell. You said he has so much pocket presence. Sean, I don't fully understand how he has pocket presence when there's no pocket to have.
Yeah,
but
exactly. Exactly.
He threw 61 passes last night and 0 interceptions. 0 interceptions on 61 passes. That's just, that's it, man.
As a rookie. As
a rookie. And then when you look at some of these, there was one play where he hit A.J. Green, and A.J. Green dropped it. And I was sitting there going, that's the first time in his career I think that was A.J. Green's fault. Yeah. Because it was like – and then there was another one where it was high and low coverage, and he threw it right between both defensive backs and just right into the guy's hands on his chest while running away from Myles Garrett.
Yeah, all 3 of his touchdowns were dimes, man. They were just beautiful passes.
I was impressed because I did not – I knew he was good, but I did not expect the accuracy in it because he was very accurate going exactly where he needed to be for the most part.
So I think Baker and Joe Burrow, to bring it back to that, both of these guys are 2 guys where I wanted this team to draft them or I didn't want this team to draft them. Baker, I was out on Baker, and I remember, and Amber is laughing because I remember I told her, I said, I hope that because we were dating at the time, or we might have been married. I can't remember whatever year it was. But I had said, I want Baker to be drafted by the Browns so I never have to hear about him again. And then I was saying the opposite with Joe Burrow because I really like Joe Burrow. And I was like, I want Joe Burrow to pull a John Elway and just say, I'm not going to play here. But he didn't. And so I just really hope they don't mess him up. Because they need an offensive line. They need a defensive line. They need a backfield. They need a secondary. They need a kicker. They need special teams. Like he is the only piece they have that I'm like, okay, that's a good talent going forward.
My worry is that he gets hurt. Because you see it all the time where you have a very talented person that gets hurt and then the career's over because they can never fully recover. And so that would be my only concern, is that especially as I move forward, is he going to get hit too many times he actually ends up with a serious injury?
The thing that really gets me about the Bengals the fact that we talk about the Bengals in the same breath as the Giants recently, but the Giants, the Jets, the Browns, the Dolphins, and all these things we talk. But this maybe says something about us as a society. Last year, the Bengals were horrible, but the Bengals tradition is actually not, recent tradition in the past, 15, 20 years is not being horrible. The recent tradition is actually being mediocre.
Yeah.
It's hovering around, not being able to win, really win a division, not win playoff games, but they make it to the playoffs and the wild card a bunch. They're actually closer, and I'm not. This is the third time I've said this. I think the first time on recording. I'm not trying to throw shade at the Cowboys. They are a less.
Sure, you're not.
They're a less nationally popular version. Like, they have about the same resume recently as the Cowboys. They're not. They never, with the exception of last year. But so that coming into that to say, oh man, the Bengals are just this joke of a friend. They're not the Browns. The year before last year, weren't they competing for the playoffs?
Yeah.
2 years ago?
And then I will say this. My thing with them is I don't know that I trust the big Browns numbers we saw get put up because I just realized Geno Atkins was out. Like, Geno Atkins didn't play.
Yeah.
And so, of course, they're going to have a lot of rushing yards. And, of course, Baker's going to have more time.
So, yeah, that's why I said temper the expectations. It is the Bengals defense.
And without their best defensive player.
Their best defensive player. And I think somebody else was missing too. I can't remember, and I forget, but I believe they were missing somebody else. But yeah.
But anyway, let's kind of move on. Let's take a look at the week to come. What we got? Any game that's jumped out that's got you really excited about?
Sorry, one quick thing, Ben. Let me say this, since I didn't get in on the Overreactions podcast. Joe Burrow, top 15 fantasy quarterback, because they're going to be playing from behind the whole season, and he's borderline top 12 for me. That's my overreaction to all of this. Anyways,
I think Joe Burrow's been going way too low in most drafts I was in. I would have drafted him a lot higher.
And everybody saw I started him last night too. Okay, so I'm putting my money where my mouth is.
So I wanted to refute you just then, but then I actually realized top 15. Top 15 doesn't make him a starter in most leagues. Yes,
true, but he's going undrafted in a lot of leagues too. So it's a big improvement. But I'll say borderline top 12.
But I'll get some of that. Well, like I said, I was about to refute what you said. No, it's not. But I'm like, no, actually, wait. Top 15 fantasy.
There's going to be several weeks where people are like, I should have played Joe Burrow.
Yeah, you're going to play it, but then at the same time, if he's available, he's going to be that person that you consider if he's still available in your league. Do I pick him up or not?
Yeah.
And no matter which decision you make, you're actually going to be if you make it and pick it up, you're going to be I'm kind of happy I did that. If you didn't, you're going to be all right, it's okay that I didn't do that. He's going to – that 12, 15 spot, actually that's –
which is how you are outside of 4 quarterbacks anyway. So
that's exactly where it kind of works. So yeah,
there's 5 quarterbacks that actually matter. So,
but yeah. So anyway, looking forward to this weekend. What games are you excited about? You aren't allowed to pick a game that your team is in.
Oh, but I'm so ready to watch us after we got curb stomped by the Chiefs. I'm so ready to watch us play the Ravens. You didn't
finish watching the game. You turned it off.
It was so bad. It was so bad.
I was laughing. He just finally looked at us. His dad was over. He's like, I'm done. And he just turned it off.
It was so bad. I
sat through my team's loss.
I wanted to cry.
I suffered.
It was so bad.
But you have a lot of experience with that, Amber. That time I was throwing shade. Sorry.
No, I'm just not a sore loser. Unlike some people, one of whom I'm married to. He won't play certain games with me because he knows he loses.
I'm interested in Giants Bears because this is another one where Trubisky can probably put up some numbers. I'm interested if he's going to hold off the inevitable, what feels like inevitable as the season went in. But like I said in our overreactions pod, he managed to have a game that proved you right no matter what side you felt on that. Like, he gave you enough flashes to where you could be like, see, he did good. And then he did enough wrong where you could be like, see, he sinks and he shouldn't be. So I'm interested to see the Mitch Trubisky, let's save my career, this tour. I'm really interested in that one. And then I am also super interested in Jaguars Titans, because Minshew is one of the most entertaining personalities. And then I want to see how that defense reacts to losing Calais Campbell and all the other things they missed when they have to go up against Derrick Henry.
All right.
I would agree that I'm excited for that game as well. Minshew and Jay Gruden as the offensive coordinator, I think is a fantasy matchup for heaven. Like, Minshew is playing in a pass-happy offense. It's what, like, he came from Washington State, Mike Leach, pass-happy, air raid, sort of thing. So I like seeing Minshew succeed. I want to see what the Jaguars can do with zero expectations. I mean, everybody expected them to be tanking for the number one pick for Trevor Lawrence, but Minshew's like, nah, I've already got the job. Also, comment on the Giants-Bears game. I'm actually more interested in Daniel Jones. I think Jones is a good quarterback, and it'll be interesting to see how he develops with the weapons around him. He showed some really good moments in the Steelers game, and he also showed some pretty bad moments. So I don't know. I think he's going to be developing pretty decently, though. The other one, I think Washington and Arizona intrigues me because I love Arizona. I love Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray and that whole offense. But I'm interested to see if Washington's defense was a one-shot wonder against Philadelphia. Now, granted, Philadelphia's hurt, but or if they've actually, if Chase Young.
You don't have to add the rest of that sentence after Philadelphia, because they're always hurt.
That's true.
Their depth chart is literally Wentz hurt at quarterback.
Yeah.
Like,
that's a good one. But yeah, I'm interested to see if Washington's defense can actually do anything. I mean, you just saw the Cardinals beat the 49ers, and this will be a good test for them. And they were the number one fantasy defense last week. So can they put up points this week as a defense, or was it just fluky? Who knows? So those are the two games that I would say I'm interested in.
Go ahead, Amber.
Okay. I would agree with Sean. I think Washington, that's going to be an interesting game just to see how they do.
I absolutely loved Chase Young, by the way. Got to shout him out. He was awesome. Sorry.
I personally like watching the Chiefs just because I like Patrick Mahomes and I enjoy watching him play. And so I will tune into that game just because I really enjoy watching him play. I liked watching him play in college too. And then I'll time for you guys how long it takes for Jonathan to turn off the Texans game.
I'm expecting half a quarter, like Lamar Jackson's first drive against us not having a secondary.
We will tune into that game, and I'll time it, and I'll let y'all know. I'll give you an update of how long he lasts.
I may just have to sit there and then just hope that, like, if I have to pick one of those weapons to beat us, I just want it to be Duvernay, so it's at least a Longhorn that's beating us, so I can at least slightly be happy. But yeah, it's going to be bad. One thing I forgot to mention, two things that are going to be super interesting: Chiefs Chargers and Dolphins Bills, because that's two teams that might switch quarterbacks.
Oh yeah, I didn't think of that.
Yeah. And I don't think either one should switch quarterbacks, but they might. I think what we're hearing out of camp is Tua's ankle is still not 100%. I don't want to watch Tua get hurt. I think Tua is obviously the future, but don't start him before he's healthy. That's not a good idea. Right. And I'm all on the Tua hype train. Like, don't get me wrong. I just don't want to see Tua out there limping and hurt. And then I am not on the Justin Herbert bandwagon whatsoever. I think Tyrod Taylor is better than he will ever be right now. I think Justin Herbert he's an Oregon quarterback. Oregon quarterbacks are just garbage. So, and I don't think I'd rather have Tyrod. It was a mistake to draft him at 2, and it will be a mistake to play him. So, yeah.
Do you have any other games that you have before I go, Amber?
I'm trying to think.
I only say that because no one's mentioned the game that I actually think is that saying.
Well, it's not watching the Broncos lose. So
I mean, I think the only other game that I think I might tune into is the Patriots Seahawks, just because I think it might be a good game. I see potential for a good game.
That's the
one I think. I think if you watch it, you're probably going to be able to watch a really good game, and I think it's a pretty good matchup.
I think it's a good. I think it's one of the ones where I really feel we can actually learn something about who teams are.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the list, and like pretty much every about 75% of the games I'm looking at, there's one team that I feel is exponential, regardless of what it was, and I still have the preseason thoughts, but I can pretty much either say both of these teams are bad, and they're going to prove that they're both bad, or one of these teams is really bad, one of these teams is good, and I know pretty much who's going to win it. Most of the games coming through, but yeah, that New England Seattle one, to me, I said it's the hardest for me to pick right away. I want to go Seattle, but
I think the Patriots have a good chance.
As much as I despise him, betting against Bill Belichick is dumb.
So the Patriots have the exact type of offense that could cause problem. They have the exact type of defense that can cause problems for Russell Wilson because of how much weaponry they have in that secondary.
Betting in general is dumb, but that's not But that's really hard to pick a winner in that one.
And then we're actually gonna see what Cam can do against a defense that's got some good linebackers. Because that's where Cam has struggled, is when there's good linebackers. And so we'll see what that does in the new look Patriots.
I'm all Seahawks in that matchup. I think Pete Carroll is riding the Chris Carson train, and I'm on the Chris Carson train. I think Chris Carson's a fantastic running back. Seattle's a very good run team. I don't think the Patriots secondary I don't see a problem with, because number one, Russell's such a good quarterback. He just doesn't make a ton of mistakes. And number two, having the backfield that they do with Chris Carson actually catching passes now too, that's huge for Seattle's offense. And I think that just overpowers. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how the Patriots offense does run, just as it develops. And, it's a completely revamped offense, and props to McDaniels for adjusting from Brady to Cam. But I just think the Seahawks have too much firepower for the Patriots.
Hot take: the Cam Patriots one is exactly what McDaniels wanted to run at Denver before they fired him after he drafted Tebow.
I agree. I would line up to that a little bit.
The boy Blunder did not really have a plan before that. I think he's grown, and I think he's actually taken more into the Belichick model. I still want him nowhere near my team, and if your team wants to hire him as coach, you will get what you deserve by hiring him as a coach.
As a person with a Bill Belichick disciple running my team, I'm pretty sure they're still on the payroll for the Patriots after they go to your team. So
I don't believe the boy Blunder ever was against. Yeah, he is probably the only person that's more despised. I know, as a rival who has left us, I think the greater thing, I think Josh McDaniels is more despised than Al Davis ever was in Denver.
That's awesome.
If you ever visit that, that's saying a lot. Like, no, I believe there were petitions that tried to ban him from DIA, like ban him straight up from the state. Like, he's not allowed in the state. So that one that's got me for a little bit. And then, the other ones they're games I'm excited about. One thing I just kind of caught this is this normal to normally have this heavy of a morning slate of games? Like,
that's
I'm
what
looking.
I was wondering.
All 10 o'clock game, or for where I'm at, they're all.
That's what I was wondering when I saw the schedule. And I honestly don't remember, but I don't feel like it's usually so many at the exact same time.
Yeah, there are 3 second games. Not counting the 2 prime times, but yeah, there are 3 second games.
Yeah, I feel like there's usually like 5 or something like that in that second slot, and then maybe with the one in London or a bye week, but we're not there yet, and no London games. So yeah, it makes sense.
One more I look at it, I guess everyone is playing. Everyone that's all the earlier games, they're all playing in the East, but
yeah, that's true too. Everybody's East Coast.
It's just like, what the.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's going to be one of those where.
You're going to have to. Basically, if your team's playing in one of those time slots, you know what game you're going to watch, and you'll have to catch up on the others later.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's the majority of people's teams are going to be in that. For us, it's 12 p.m. time slot. I don't know what it is for everybody else.
Arizona is not getting a good draw this week as far as who we're getting.
That's a real early game for them too.
Well, that's a 105 start. So that one kind of works, but 105 on Fox. So we'll get a couple games, but yeah, it's just gonna be kind of interesting. But so anyway, there. Any other thoughts you have on the NFL before we move on?
No, I'm just excited they're back.
Yeah. We have the opening of the new stadium where, it's partially.
Oh, yeah, this is the Raiders' first.
Well, both, because were the Rams home last week?
I think they were home last week. I think they were at home.
Okay, because the Chargers are opening, I guess, we'll see what it looks like. We'll actually see what it looks like for most Chargers games at any other time because there won't be anyone there. No, actually, it's not true. There won't be any away fans there either. But yeah, and then Vegas comes. We get to see that stadium again empty on Monday. But actually, I've been on that. I don't know if we wanted to get into there, and if we don't, we can edit this part out. Have you guys been surprised at the number of fans, or the way the number of teams that have actually had limited people? Like, no. I was not expecting that on Thursday.
It didn't surprise me.
No, I think any team that was going to be able to legally get fans in the stadium was going to sell tickets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I think if there's a way for you to do it, I think you should do it.
Yeah, I'm very
if you can
frustrated
do it safely
that we aren't.
and everything, I would do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no reason that 5,000 people can't be allowed into those games.
Yeah.
I would agree. And yeah, that's a frustrating thing for me is I've already gone into this mindset for this season that the Vikings are in a semi-rebuild year. Obviously, our secondary is a bunch of guys who got off the street, but
you got
plus
Harrison
Smith. Yeah, I was going to say plus Harrison Smith. But I should have said our cornerbacks. But a huge part of Vikings football, and I know this probably said about a lot of places, but the home atmosphere for Vikings football, especially last week, like Vikings-Packers game, as somebody who's been to one, like people get so loud that Aaron Rodgers really has to concentrate. And that is another aspect of the game that is just so missing, especially for the Vikings. Like it's a different level and a different thing. And it's frustrating that only 250 people can be in the building as per state regulations for us. So, but.
Yeah. So I've got, actually, now that I think about it, I've got one more, and I should have given you this before, but I kind of like this immediate reaction. So if you guys still have the schedule up?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Pick an upset. And whether or not, regardless of line, you can look at a guy and look at a team and you can tell who. Because I've got one that I'm thinking I'm going to pick.
Just because I want to make Brian mad, Dolphins over Bills. Just because I want to make Brian mad.
The thing is, it could happen. I doubt it, though.
If I'm going to be a homer, Texans over – no, I can't even say that with a straight face.
Do you want me to say it? Will that make you feel better? The Texans will upset. Does that make you feel better?
It's not true, but it makes me feel better. Thank you.
Okay.
For real upset, I'm going to pick Giants over Bears.
Is that an upset? You see, my upset I was thinking was Bears over Giants.
No, the Bears are favored to win.
Yeah, and it's a pretty big, like, comparatively, their spread is bigger than Vikings-Colts, which Colts are the pick, and Rams-Eagles.
Colts are the
they're the home team. They're the favorites.
People think Phillip Rivers is much better than he is.
Yeah, that's true. So, I mean, obviously, I think the Vikings will win that, and I think the Rams will beat the Eagles. But I think those two picks are less of, like, upset worthy than Giants-Bears. So
yeah, that's fair.
If I have to say bigger, at least according to the spread, Giants are my pick.
Based on history and what history tells us about who guys are, I don't believe Aaron Rodgers is who we saw last week. That's not who Aaron Rodgers is. And because of that, I'm saying this on a recorded line, Detroit to upset Green Bay.
No. Oh, that's a tough one, man.
No, Detroit's going to Detroit it up. Detroit's going to Detroit it up. They're going to lead going into the fourth quarter, and then it's just all going to fall apart. No,
they
Detroit's
can lead by 31 at half. And the Packers will still come back.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Whip them.
It's going to be like that. They're going to lead by 31. They're going to Detroit it up, and they're going to fight. But it's literally just going to run out of time, and it's going to be some weird mathematical thing that, like, the Packers literally, like, run out. Like, so it'll be 31-30. Like, that'll be the finish. Like, it'll be that weird, like, wow, that just did. They literally ran out of time. If there was an
over-under,
I would love it.
Real quick, before we move on from football, did Gostkowski get fired after that game?
I don't think so.
I don't think he did, but I mean, I can look it up.
I mean, he hit the big one. I mean, I get that he hit the big one, but
I'm pulling up Titans depth chart right now. Gostkowski is still the place kicker.
Well, good for him.
I honestly didn't expect him to get fired. I expected him to retire on the plane.
Yeah, that's kind of how I thought too. If anything, he would just be like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm just gonna go back home."
He was gonna tell them.
He was. What was he? Fourth most accurate kicker going into that game, and he dropped all the way down to 9th after that game.
Well, okay, but get this for a second here. I need to know. I'm looking up the thing. We'll do this off pod at some point. But I just pulled him up. His field goal. He is 1 for 4, 25% accuracy this season. That puts him at 28th. He is not statistically the worst kicker in the NFL this year.
Well, I think a couple guys went 0 for 1 or 0 for 2.
I mean, I guess that would put you, but still, like, he's statistically not. Someone else missed an extra point.
There's a lot of guys that miss extra points this week. I keep getting surprised by that.
Yeah, but I mean, they moved it back because
they did. They did.
And since we've moved it back, we've had more misses, which is, generally what's going to happen.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's still shocking when someone misses an extra point.
But
you think they can at least do that?
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and go on to NBA. So the NBA is going through. We'll hit it a little bit on it. A few things happened this week. As of recording, there's a game going on, but because it's as of recording, we won't talk about it as much.
It's also not a game. It's also not a game because your team is being blown out.
Okay, right, let's talk about it. Game one after – okay, so the Nuggets just had 2 back-to-back 7-game series. The Lakers are rested. The Nuggets are not. Yeah, this was going to be a game to get blown out.
Make all the excuses you want.
But Ben's right. There was there's no way they wouldn't be coming into that game running on fumes. No way.
And
we all know that Mike Malone wants it to be 3-1 anyways. I mean,
yes.
He asked the NBA if they could start at 3-1. So
yeah. Based on the other thing, as a Nuggets fan, wait, you're really anything is supposed to get me worried? Really?
I saw it on Twitter where it was this series is going 4-0 Lakers or it's going 4-3 Nuggets. That. Those are the only 2 outcomes that it can be.
And then we also have.
I think so.
Commissioners.
If the Lakers end up where there's a chance for them to go up 3-0, if it's 2 or 3-1, if it's they have a 2-1 lead, do they just rest LeBron and AD for that game for that next game so they don't go up 3-0? Do they
Yeah, but yeah, that I could see that. But anyway, let's focus on the big one. Like I said, we didn't seem there. But yeah, no, the Nuggets. That's insane. Actually, I saw a thing, and I think it's statistics lie, whatever. But basically said that that Jokic is one of the most clutch players of all time, just because of how many elimination games he has won. He's 9. He is 9-1 in elimination games.
Nice.
And then also there, we're looking at 4 straight 7-game series, by the way, for him. And then we're also, when you look at his clutch field goal percentage and his numbers in the clutch are really good. Good.
That's what again, those, I don't think those numbers mean as much as no, that's insane. That's
what numbers do mean a bunch in the clutch? 0 for 5 and 0 for 4 for Kawhi Leonard and Paul George in that fourth quarter. I'm just gonna say it. Look, you can take the Donald Sterling out of the Clippers, but you can't. They're still the Clippers, and they're still crap, and they're still a garbage organization. Just because you flipped their owners doesn't mean that they're not a garbage organization. It's been 50 years, and they haven't made a conference finals, which, by the way, longest streak of any team in existence in North American sports to not make a conference finals. And it's a bad organization. Doc Rivers is now Doc Rivers has blown 3 different 3-0 leads.
One.
Other two other ones. Sorry, this is his 3rd one that he's blown. Has blown 2 other. I will give him credit for the Magic one because second best player goes down, and then it was the Pistons that ended up winning a championship. I'll give him a credit for that one. I'll even give him credit for the one with the Rockets 5 years ago where Josh Smith hit 807 threes in one game. And Josh Smith is objectively the 2nd worst 3-point shooter of all time. So I'll even give him credit for that. But this one, I'm sorry, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me a 3rd time, nah, not happening.
No, yeah. Sean, Amber, Nuggets or Clippers? Actually, I'm going to ask. Okay, wait. Before you get that, say something about the Nuggets because the Nuggets won that series. It's been something that's been bugging me on all media. No one. It's not that the whole thing is that the Nuggets didn't win. The Clippers lost. No, Nuggets came back and won that series.
Here's my only thing. I mean, Nuggets are a division opponent, but and everybody knew it at the time. Chris Dunn should not have been selected by the Timberwolves over Jamal Murray. And a lot of the fan base wanted Jamal Murray, and it didn't happen. So the curse of Tibbs strikes again. But Jamal Murray's a baller, man.
That's not the only person. Like, I was sitting there yelling at my TV when the Pelicans selected Buddy.
Yeah, I'm glad it wasn't just us.
I'm like yelling. I'm like Jamal is Buddy, but better and younger. Like, what are you doing?
Yep. So props to the Nuggets. I'm not convinced that Mike Malone is a great coach still. I think the Nuggets are more talented than Mike Malone is at coaching, but he might prove me wrong. So Jokic is a good playmaker. Their guard play has been fantastic. Their depth is fantastic. They got a lot of role players that I really like. I mean, Jeremy Grant, Michael Porter Jr., like those guys are good guys. I wish we would see more of our baller and savior, Bol, but what can you do? So
I have a feeling they're trading him over the offseason. I just have a feeling.
But Amber, you got anything?
I rewatched the highlights from the last game just to see. I mean, I think the Nuggets played well. I think to just say that the Clippers, like, just because I have been hearing like they just blew it. They didn't show up. The Nuggets also played really well. Now, they also did choke very badly, but I was impressed. I think the Nuggets played well. They had a decent strategy going on. They had good passes. They were making their baskets, and then the Clippers couldn't score to save their life towards the end there, and it was really evident. But I thought it was a good game. It was entertaining. Now I don't expect the Nuggets to win this next several games, but that is partially because they're going to be tired after everything. I will give you that, Ben.
Well, no, I'm not expecting them either, but I'm going to go with that with ratings the way they are in the NBA. There is no way the NBA lets LeBron not make the finals. There's no way. Yes, I know I bust the conspiracy thing out there, but no, I'm sorry. There's absolutely zero chance that it is allowed that
you not make the final.
Sorry if that's a downer.
You know what? If we have a bunch of bad reffing at some point that prove that the Nuggets should have won, then we can have that debate.
I'll say this. As someone whose wife is on this podcast right now, I think two players got what they deserved in all of this. Daniel House cheated on his wife, and his team got blown out. Lou Williams says he went for chicken wings at a strip club, and his team got messed up. I am just saying, be faithful to your wife, and maybe you'd win games. Just saying.
Yeah, that's the only problem.
Just DoorDash the wings, man.
That is still a lame excuse.
So, we got all NBA teams, right?
Yeah, all NBA teams are out. Let me see if I can pull those up here.
Which shout out to Sean's boy Karl Anthony Towns for playing like 6 minutes all year and still getting votes.
Yeah.
So like shout out.
The only awards that I've cared about this season are congrats to the greatest coach of all time, Cheryl Reeve, for winning Coach of the Year in the WNBA, and Crystal Dangerfield for winning Rookie of the Year as the only WNBA player drafted in the second round to win Rookie of the Year. They're overachieving because everybody thought they would be the second to worst team in the league, and they're in the semifinals right now for WNBA. So, and shout out to Cap for getting 2 third-team votes for playing less than half the season.
Like, super impressive there. Shout out to did the Timberwolves have the worst record? Or was the Warriors still worse than them?
I think the Warriors were
the Warriors
worst.
were worse.
We were third, but because
crazy.
of lottery, we had the same percentage. Yeah, the Warriors had the worst.
Which is crazy because I feel like the Timberwolves lost more people during the season than like.
Well, yeah, we lost an entire team.
Yeah, like I feel like the Warriors had more pieces. The Warriors had more pieces.
The Warriors lost an entire team before the season.
Yeah, and Steph, how many games did Steph play? What, like 8 games or something like that?
Yeah, it wasn't much. It wasn't much.
But nah.
But
let's just go through the list. So the first team, we have Giannis, LeBron, Harden, Davis, and Luka. Anthony Davis at center bugs me. I mean,
it bothers me a lot.
Yep,
it's weird. But that being said, like, I didn't see much of the game, but who took the jump tonight? Because I think that's really the only case where, like, that's the only difference between center and forward now is who takes the jump. And that'll be whoever I consider for the entire game is, you're the center.
So you're telling me that James Harden has been the Rockets center for the last, 6 months.
Like it.
It's not even that anymore.
It's not even that because Gerald Green was taking jump balls for a long time because he's got like a 60-inch vertical. It feels like.
Yeah.
So it's not.
That's the only thing that makes a center anymore. Like they're the one who takes the jumps.
Well, doesn't Millsap take the jump for the Nuggets a lot because like Jokic can't jump worth anything. I think Millsap does the jump.
Plumlee will take an occasion.
For most centers, it's the guy that can't shoot threes on the team. Like that's still, and obviously that's changing, but that's still a lot of the classification of the center position.
So then Russell Westbrook was our center.
Yeah, exactly.
No. Everyone not named Robert Covington and James Harden was our center in the playoffs.
I really wish I had gotten to the third team by now for the best part of that joke, because then how is Ben Simmons in there at guard then if that's the worst, if your worst 3-point shooter is?
So look, that third team, I will say this, most of my qualms come with the third team, and it's because most of them were very bad shooters this year. Westbrook, Jimmy Butler is the worst jump shooter in the league, and we all know how I feel about Jimmy because look at this Zoom background. But it is what it is. I suppose. I don't know.
I think my qualms with that just boil down to this is my only issue with the third team. Ben Simmons is not a guard. He's not. Why is he listed at guard? And like he even played for, like they literally moved Horford to the bench to put Ben Simmons back at power forward for most of the year because he's not a guard.
He's playing that same position that I would say, it's the big offensive quarterback man.
Yeah, like he played just as much as
Luka position.
LeBron, Luka, even to an extent James Harden, but James Harden is at least 6'5", so it's more likely. But that he's a big who controls the ball. But now, granted, Ben Simmons is one of the best defensive players in the NBA. Like I like him. I just don't think he plays guard. And I would not classify him as a guard. And if you're going to classify him as a guard, why didn't you classify Middleton as a guard? Because Middleton was just as much a guard as Simmons was and had more votes. But because he's not classified as a guard, he didn't get that spot.
Yeah.
Westbrook, I have some issues with Westbrook, but Westbrook put up really good numbers on a top 4 seed. Like Westbrook needed to be. Westbrook, I get why he got that spot. Everyone knows I hate Russell Westbrook, and Amber almost had to take my shoelaces away when we traded for him. It was bad. And I don't like it. I don't like it. But Westbrook had all those numbers on a top 4 seed. I get why he's third. But Middleton had great numbers. Why is Middleton not on this team? And shout out to Bam for basically only missing this because they made Davis a center instead of a forward. And Bam and Embiid both could have probably snuck on if you just went with total points instead of having to stick someone at center. There's all sorts of stuff. I don't understand the voting for this. Why do you one, basketball's becoming positionless anyway. So I would rather here's our 5. Here's our 5. It's not like you actually have to play a team. It's not like this team actually has to play. Just make it the best 5.
And they already do that anyways because it's called the All-Star game. So it's –
So, I mean, even with this thing, I'll say this, and I'm going to make a homer pick. I'm going to make a homer statement here. And I know it's mostly because he went off, but it wasn't like he was bad throughout the rest of the season. You're really going to tell me that Murray is not one of the 14 best guards in the game? Like,
you don't get 14 guards though.
That's really the statement. That's really where you're going to put me. Like, say that's really what we're going to go with.
You get 6 guards though. You only get 6 guards.
No, I'm looking at others receiving votes.
There's 12. There's 12 total that
received votes. Okay.
Yeah. So you look at the other. So there's the 6 guard. There's the 6.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
And then another.
It's tough. Kemba, I think, gets votes just because of who he is, not because of
just because he's
how good he was this year.
Mitchell was better than Murray going into the playoffs.
I think so too. Trae Young deserves those votes. I think Devin Booker deserves those votes. It's a toss-up. If you take one of them out and put Murray in there, I'm not opposed to it, except for Bradley Beal. Like, Beal deserves those votes.
Bradley Beal only missed getting on this team because his team missed the playoffs.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's the
first 30 and 6.
Yeah.
So,
guard to ever miss. So, yeah. So, I mean, if I understand your outrage as a Nuggets fan, but at the same time, like, as a non-Nuggets fan, I'm just kind of like, meh.
It goes. I mean, they're the only you're only allowed to cover one Nuggets player at a time, media-wise, and Jokic was the one who was getting talked about.
Yeah.
So
breaking news.
There it is.
Breaking news. They're down by 20 with a minute left. But they did put Bol in the game. So Sean, we can be happy.
Bol come to save the game. Congrats to LeBron, by the way, for his 16th All-NBA appearance. I believe that is the record, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he is also after we can jump over to MVP now, where LeBron got screwed over. LeBron should have won, but he is now tied for all time with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with most top 5 finishes. And James Harden is now tied for most consecutive top 5 finishes with LeBron and with LeBron. Like, so as much as I personally think there has to be a curve for playing in that division for Giannis, for one. That division was garbage.
I think so too. That
division was garbage.
In the Eastern Conference and the schedule, like there's just so many. Yeah, obviously Giannis has the numbers. Obviously he can make his case. Obviously he was defensive player of the year. I get it. But LeBron in his 17th season, leading the league in assists as this point forward, like reinventing his game again, like for the Lakers. And the man keeps impressing me. And, you know, I stand for LeBron. So it's fine. I get it. But I just can't.
LeBron should have won. LeBron should have won,
yeah,
and
I think LeBron is the MVP.
The name of the MVP at this point should probably be the "Let's find a reason why we can't give this to LeBron" award.
If they had given it to LeBron, I would have no issue. But I mean, I also have no issue with Giannis getting it. Like it. I mean, you can argue if you want to say there's extra value being back to back, that maybe he shouldn't have gotten it because he's not worthy of going back to back. I can entertain that, but to really be upset that this is one of those years that like only one guy can get it. You flipped a coin. Okay, cool. That ended up on Giannis. All right, great.
I'm just really worried about the fact that we have a guy that's gone back-to-back MVPs in 2 straight years. He's become a non-factor in the playoffs. Like it really now Toronto game plans, all praise to Nick Nurse, all that stuff. And that's great. But this year against Miami, it was an injury and he wasn't good. But can we just be honest? Like Mike Budenholzer doesn't deserve, like he should have to give back Coach of the Year awards.
Yeah. Because
how you have Giannis as that talent and you don't make people pass him the ball. Again, I'm not saying Giannis didn't deserve to be in those considerations for MVPs. He put up great numbers and he's a dominant force. But why on earth do we get into the playoffs every year and his teammates refuse to pass him the ball?
It is really frustrating that the playoffs don't count for anything. Like you've got finals MVP and you've got regular season MVP, but the series leading up to the finals, it doesn't matter what you do. And, you know, with the media fatigue on voting for LeBron, as well as just the idea, like if LeBron didn't show up in the playoffs, he gets crucified. Giannis doesn't show up in the playoffs, he gets an MVP. And he gets a back-to-back MVP along with his defensive player of the year. And I just can't rectify that. Like, I get it. I understand it's a regular season award, but why? Like, why?
I don't understand. I don't understand how what did LeBron and James Harden do to voters that if they have a bad game in the playoffs, like James Harden had 2 bad games the entirety of the playoffs. And it's just James Harden is washed. James Harden's the problem. LeBron had one bad game against their first round, the Blazers, and people were talking about how, this is LeBron's problem. This is just, everything's wrong with LeBron. He had one bad game. And then, but Kawhi Leonard cannot show up completely in 3 straight games and shoot terrible. And we'll just, that's Paul George's fault.
Well, I would just, I think it's as simple as with certain players, you're so used to them being dominant that it's really easy to blame them when they fail a little bit. To where a lot of other players, when they're kind of back and forth, you want to hope the best for them, so you want to blame somebody else. And I think LeBron and Harden are players where people want to find out, like people want them to mess up because it's so rare that they mess up badly.
Mm-hmm.
So when they can say like, oh, he choked, it's all his fault, that's why they lost the game, they're going to do it. Versus like, we'll just use Giannis. Giannis, a lot of people want him to succeed, so they're always going to blame others. Even
I'm not blaming Giannis. Like you can't
I'm not either.
That's pass just, you the ball. Like
Giannis, I'm not either. Yeah. That's just what came to mind. But if Harden was playing and never got the ball, they would be doing well. They didn't give Harden the ball because he was terrible tonight or whatever.
Yeah.
What I see, I think it's more of the persona, whether the player has crafted it themselves or the media around them has crafted it. And I think the other thing we got to keep in mind with Giannis, this is Giannis's fourth season.
I thought fourth.
In the playoffs?
Well, but yeah, I mean, how many years has Giannis been in the league?
5 or 6, right? Because he came in as an 18-year-old. Yeah, fifth year.
I think Giannis, and he has been.
Oh no, this is his 7th year.
Yeah, I was going to say it's
6th or 7th.
6.
Oh,
yeah, 6th or 7th. Yeah, 2013 was
2013.
Yeah, 2013.
Yeah.
So 6th.
That was the year.
Okay.
Muhammad.
Okay, so maybe it kind of misses more a little bit, but I think that LeBron had the image around LeBron is any team he is on is LeBron in the cast, and then the image around Harden is any team he is on is Harden in the cast, and I think Giannis is on his way to that. I just don't know if it was quite there yet. And I think if we're going to like ask and say, well, why are these guys? Well, yeah, because when the narrative around you is your team is LeBron and LeBron's friends, and you shut down and you fail. Nope. You're the guy. You failed. When your team is Harden and Harden's friends and Harden misses, nope, you failed.
I have a feeling Giannis is probably in that group next year.
Like Giannis is close.
I don't think he's quite gotten to that point, but I think he will.
Well, I think the back-to-back MVPs has probably cemented him in that group. And because we saw it with Steve Nash. We saw it with Steve Nash, too. After back-to-back MVPs, and then you're still not making conference finals, we saw a lot of fatigue with that as well.
And so maybe that's actually what really benefited Kawhi this year is actually the fact that you asked for is load management over? You asked that in our chat. No, it's not, because here's what load management does. Load management keeps your team from being the Kawhis.
That's fair.
Because, nope, you don't see him as the Kawhis, so therefore when Kawhi fails, yeah, but that team was really good without Kawhi, so they should have won.
Yeah. Well, and you know what, though? I think here's another thing. Montrezl Harrell and Russell Westbrook both got COVID. And they both had it pretty recently before the bubble came back. And both of them looked terrible in the bubble. And so I think this is going to have an asterisk on some people's careers just because, they didn't do good in the playoffs the year that everyone got COVID. So that might have some stuff that's different.
I don't want not to turn this into this direction, but Jokic did too.
Yeah, but it does affect everyone differently.
Yeah. But yeah, and he's gone off though. Like,
yeah. Well, Russell Westbrook missed the first part of the bubble. Like, he only played one of the seeding games because he missed the first part of the bubble with COVID, and then he pulled a hamstring. And then Montrezl Harrell missed the first 4 or 5 of the 8 seeding games. I think it was 5. because they had it very recently and weren't into shape yet. So there's a little
simply
difference.
The other reason there's going to be an asterisk on all sports this year is no one's been able to practice or work out like they necessarily usually would.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, where you could beforehand, you could go and technically work out all day. Now it's like, this is your time slot. And so I think that has affected a lot of players in kind of all sports more than people may realize.
I think it depends on what happens will be the narrative that around it.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, not to again sound, if some way, if by some miracle that happens and the Nuggets win and the Nuggets go on to the finals, whatever, it will absolutely have an asterisk. This was the COVID year. Or, they won, but they won in a COVID year. LeBron win? No. LeBron took the Nuggets or the Lakers back to the championship. Mm-hmm. That's the narrative. That's the story that will be told in 3 years.
Well, but once again, this is where people, you either love LeBron or you hate him. And so it's always going to be all about LeBron.
Can we pivot to something that Ben hates before we end?
And I'm sorry, Sean, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no, ahead, you're totally fine.
Go ahead, Sean.
All I was going to say is, at some point, we just have to say, you know what, even though it was a weird year, like, everybody faced the weirdness. Everybody had to work out it's an asterisk only because the entire league faced that. It wasn't like it was one team that was affected. Like, look,
was it Doc Rivers who said that they needed a gold star? Whoever won it needs a gold star, not an asterisk.
Yeah. I mean, Lakers didn't have Avery Bradley. Like they had their own things that mm-hmm. they had to go through, so it wasn't just whatever. So I just get fed up with the narrative. Like, well, it was and as a huge LeBron fan, like, dude, I get it. It just is like, man, can we just get over the narrative? Like, well, it could have been this or it could have been that or whatever. Like, yeah, every team that made the bubble could say that. Like, it just is what it is. Like,
mm-hmm.
But I'm also on the outside looking in. So, hello, November. Number 1 draft pick.
Yeah, so before we leave, can we just go to something that will make Ben angry? Well, as Ben's phone has died and we lost him in chat, I get to say this. Yeah, Ben's phone died, so I will get to say this as we end in our last thing, and Ben doesn't get a rebuttal. Ha 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 ha.
Yes.
Stanley Cup Finals are going on right now, and the Lightning mm-hmm. versus the Stars. I would love for the Stars to win just because
both of us would.
Ben hates them so much. And I think that would be an awesome thing to see. So, Sean, you got anything else you want to add?
I was going to say I can't root for the Stars because they shouldn't be the Stars. But other than that, it's hockey is hockey, and I can't say much for what we've done in the past couple of years in hockey. So
hey, at least you have a team. Houston doesn't even have a team, so I don't know who to root for. I'm like considering.
Well, I mean, we should have a team because people come out of the womb up here playing hockey. Like that's exactly what it is. But no, I don't know. I can't fully go in for the Stars, but I will be honest. I'm way more into the WNBA right now. Las Vegas, Seattle, I think is I mean, they're 1 and 2. They're clearly the 2 best teams.
Clearly.
Minnesota is about to play Seattle and just going to get dominated because they're so good. But I'm super proud of the Lynx for what they've done.
We could do a great WNBA pod just on that because it's been a really good year. I think getting to watch. I think this is weird. I honestly think the pandemic was great for the WNBA because it's getting treated like a real sport. And it's great. Side note, the new NBA 2K, I bought this, and we can end with this. The game when you're playing as the men is garbage and is terrible. But my goodness, they have made the women like very well. It moves just like an actual WNBA game. Everything works really well. They run the same types of sets that they would do. They did a really fantastic job, and you should check it out sometime.
Nice. Props to 2K. Mm-hmm. And I believe WNBA jerseys just went on sale because Sabrina Ionescu just posted hers. So if you are a WNBA fan, and Sabrina's a baller, so yep,
she is.
Exactly.
All right, we'll catch you guys next time.